telematics on all city vehicles, which we are in the process of doing. Pretty much done with almost all the agencies except for fire and sanitation, which we're working on. NYPD has their own telematics system, which is separate from our program. We are also tracking all the school buses across the city of New York for all 41 companies. We do that out of a Fleet Office of Real-Time Tracking, which is on our 21st floor here at the municipal building. And that allows us to bring in not only our telematics data, but our fuel management data, our fleet management data. We actually have some feeds to the DOT traffic cameras so that if there's ever an incident with a city vehicle, we can hopefully see that as real time as well. So we do a lot of work directly out of the Fleet Office of Real-Time Tracking. It also allows us to be able to better support our 55 client fleet agencies and be able to give them information about what their fleet's doing, where their vehicles are, and if there are any concerns. So one of the things that we were able to do from our telematics system is we create daily fleet safety reporting that goes out to all of the agencies that evening. So basically it looks at the past 24 hours and it says, here are your vehicles and here are the specific issues that you may want to look at or that you should look at in order to make driving safer. So, you know, on here, you'll see speeding, possible collision, because if you hit a really big pothole, the G-force of the vehicle might see it as a collision and it might not be. Will be, you know, we look at seatbelt usage, vehicles out of state, excessive speeding, things of that nature. So this particular report, which lists out all the vehicles that have issues and all the concerns, goes out to the agencies on a daily basis. We also send out on some of these items alerts. So the agency, when the event happens, will also get an alert that says this particular issue is happening. And we have a whole matrix of who gets what information and who gets what alerts. But in the overall picture of things, fleet directors are getting this information on a daily basis. We are also doing agency safety scorecards on a monthly basis. And this goes out, every single agency gets a geotab safety scorecard. It looks at things like hard acceleration and hard braking, harsh cornering, seatbelt use, speeding, and excessive speeding. And this is just a general view of how agencies compare against each other. But what we do when we give it to the agencies is they get a vehicle by vehicle list, which includes what would be the safety scores. And the safety scores are based on a number of metrics because you have to take into account the miles driven, you have to take into account all of the different weighted categories. Some particular agencies like us to weight categories a little bit differently. And you can do that all in the Excel spreadsheets. So if I said, okay, that's great that my fleet is at, you know, a 92.5 on the score, based on these categories, the question is, well, what would the score be if I only was looking at speeding or only looking at seatbelt use? So agencies have the ability to change that. You know, we keep an eye on this in the sense that we'd like to know, is there an agency or an issue that we need to focus on? But an agency will get their safety scorecard every month at the beginning of the following month. We also do citywide safety scorecarding. And this is what we tend to share with agencies when we do Fleet Federation meetings, when we do other citywide meetings, and what we share with those in their task force. And what this looks like is all those safety alerts that I mentioned earlier, the braking, the acceleration, the seatbelt use, the speeding, the excessive speeding, and then we can compare it to miles. And as you can see, and I think this has been talked about before, and it's kind of general, you know, usually when we're driving to learn miles, the pandemic hit, and as you can see, we had a tremendous drop in the number of miles that the city fleet was used for, and obviously the safety alerts per mile jumped up significantly. We've now started to see normalization back to where it was, even with the mileage going back up again. This particular chart runs through the end of 2020. However, we continue to see that same pattern, and I'll show you guys in another slide of how that's looking. We do the speed alert summary. So this actually goes through April of 2021. As you can see, we are continuing to make a lot of progress on speeding per mile and excessive speeding per mile. And so just so you guys know what the difference is we look at speeding per mile anywhere above 11 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit, and excessive speeding per mile is 25 miles over the posted speed limit. So if you're on a BQ and you're going 60, then you're speeding. You're not excessively speeding, but obviously we want to look at both and make sure that we are seeing improvements. So how do we see improvements? We certainly have. So all the stuff that we're doing with agencies, from the telematics program to the safety cameras to working with them on training, going back to the agencies and saying, hey, here's your speeding profile for the last month. You know, we continue to see a really good pattern in driving down excessive speeding per mile, driving down speeding per mile. And again, you can see that spike that happened during the COVID period in March and April of 2020, where you had less vehicles on the road, you had less miles being driven, but because of the open roads, you had a lot of excess speeding. we are seeing a significant reduction in crashes with city vehicles. Obviously, FY20 is a little bit skewed because of the pandemic and because of the less miles driven, but even FY17, 18, and 19, we've seen a significant decrease in the number of crashes when it comes to city vehicles. We've seen a reduction per 100,000 miles as well. Since FY15, it's been a reduction of 63%. And when it comes to injuries, we've actually had a reduction of 61%. So we continue to do a lot of work in trying to find ways to reduce collisions, reduce injuries, and make our vehicles and our drivers safer. That's basically all I have as a formal feedback. I will take any questions that you guys might have.
Thanks a lot, Eric.